Hello and welcome back to the Coaching Hub. In this week's episode, we sat down with Academy Director at Barrytown United, Damian Flynn. Damian shares his coaching journey, which includes time spent abroad and in the UK. He also discusses his various roles at Barrytown, including how he transitions from working with some of the younger age groups into the senior men's team, and then also shares his ideas of what he thinks the key qualities are for a successful coach. I hope you enjoy. Okay, so thank you to Damian who's joined us today. First of all, Damian, just can you tell us a bit about your journey in football coaching and sort of what inspired you to become a coach initially?
Yeah. So in terms of the journey, it's been 17 years now full time in the industry. And, it's been quite a lengthy journey across different continents and experiencing a wide variety of different coaching from junior to senior in one country to another. It's a professional football club to a semi-professional football club and up and down the country of Wales across over the last 10 years as well. So it's been a hell of a journey for a wide variety of good reasons as well. So I started out at the University of South Wales as a university student and took part in the football coaching and performance degree. Graduated, but at my time at the university, I also did a lot of voluntary work experience at Cardiff at the time. So when I graduated, I put myself in, quite a favourable position, I guess, that if a job was to come around, that I'd be in a good position to get it. And it happened, and I got a role at Cardiff. It was a really basic role to start with, working within the futsal program and just doing daily coaching. And within a short time being at Cardiff, a great opportunity come about to go to Malaysia and work for the owner. And it was a case of setting up all the community type projects that we deliver within the community foundation, but out in Malaysia. So I went out there for just over a year and had such a fantastic experience. We run community programs in the rural areas in Malaysia. We did a talent ID program with Astro Kembola, a national TV program, and brought players back to Cardiff for a 3-week coaching experience and playing experience. And then after that time, I had the opportunity to stay, but I decided to come home. I felt it was best for me in my career at such a young age to come back and really work on my craft. So I come back, worked at the foundation as a community sports coach, and that's all I was to start with, going around a wide variety of different schools from day to day, coaching in primary schools, high schools, loads of fun, enjoyable sessions for young kids. Then in the evening, I'd work at the Cardiff City Development Centres and coach more advanced kids, trying to prepare them in the best way possible for the academy. Throughout my time at Cardiff City Football Club, I worked up in terms of positions. I ended up taking on board, the a lot of the recreational type football, football development type stuff across the club as well, and moved into more management type senior positions. But I also work part time at Barrytown United Football Club, whilst also working full time at Cardiff. Barrytown at a semi-professional football club that play in the top tier league in Wales, and had a wide variety of different experiences at Barry, where we won 2 leagues, won a wide variety of different cups as well. We've experienced Europe twice as well, qualifying for Europa League, and all in all, across 2 stints, I've done 10 years at the club. So I was not just getting my community fix coaching within the community setting at Cardiff City Foundation, but also working in a semi-elite type environment with Barrytown United Football Club. But also working at Cardiff, I also took time to coach within the women's sector. I'm very fortunate to be a part of a team that won leagues as well, qualified for Champions League as well, and first women's team to do that within the structure of the club as well, and also won the FAW Women's Youth Cup. So had such a wide, vast variety of experiences in both junior, senior, male, female type football, and really worked on my craft at a very, very young age to put myself in a better position from an experience point of view when I was a little bit older. Very fortunate then to be offered an opportunity at Manchester City Football Club, where I, went to Manchester and I took on all the community football outreach type programs across the club, the community department, and was heavily involved in the development of the international leadership program with a really good friend of mine who leads the program called Gareth Hughes, and was fortunate enough to be able to piece together lots of content for it and help. Then decided it was time then to come back when I was offered an opportunity which was grant funded by UEFA and part funded by the FAW to come back and take back on a role at Barrytown United, but as academy director and under 19s head coach. So look after the academy from 8 all the way up to under 19s, lead and manage the under 19s, and then also part of the first team coaching staff. So all in all, that's the coaching journey where it's been a massive experience in different sectors, but that's the journey today. And then you asked about what's inspired me to take part. So I think for me, a big part was an opportunity to be a part of a team. I think growing up, family life was very difficult and very broken. So for me, I felt being a part of a team of people was something that I forever longed for to sort of gain in my life. And I think being a part of a team in a sporting environment, being that of players and coaches, it had that sort of family feel to it for me. And I definitely got that at Barrytown United. I think the other one was to, pass on knowledge, and that's both personal and professional. A wide variety of different life experiences, especially now as I'm, a bit older as well, and got some in the game, and also a lot from a personal point of view. And the next one then was just to support young people to hopefully give them a little bit of a better future than what they might have had if we hadn't met. So that's the reason why I got involved. That's what inspires me, and still to this day, a long time in the game, I still feel exactly the same, and there's no different in terms of what continues to inspire me every day.
Brilliant. In terms of the experiences that you've had, you've spoken then about quite a range of them. In terms of your philosophy as a coach, is there an experience or maybe someone you've worked with that you think has shaped your philosophy? And so what is your philosophy? And is there anything that has shaped it specifically, or has it just been the combination of the experiences and people that you've worked with?
It's definitely a combination of experiences and people I've worked with. I've been very, very fortunate to work with some really good people, and then people have all been very different as well. And I've been able to take small snippets of every single one of them, which has then helped shape my philosophy. But I think from a coaching sense, first and foremost, it has to be fun. There has to be a huge element of fun within all the practices. Otherwise, you ain't going to get the buy-in. Secondly, then, it has to replicate moments of the game. So whatever type of practices you're doing from a coaching sense, it has to look and feel like football. There has to be an element of individual and unit type coaching as well in my coaching philosophy, because I feel it has to have that personal type approach where you can work with not just the team as a whole, but also split off into unit type work and show a little bit of love and bring down that player to coach ratio by getting closer to the players, because you have less players to work with. You can refine and focus on more technical type detail with unit type work. And the last one then, it has to be reflective, and that's reflective for both the coach and players in order to build a better environment and a learning environment for both yourself as a coach and the player. So yeah, philosophy for me would be fun, moments of the game, elements of unit type work, individual type sessions. It has to have a personal feel for it in terms of the way in which you intervene with players and build relationships. And then it also has to be reflective for both players and coaches as well.
And in terms of how you deliver that, does that differ if you're working with seniors or youth? And you spoke then about being 19, so you're already, I suppose, on the sort of cusp of adult football. But does the way that you deliver that, your philosophy, change in different environments, or are you able to just adapt it slightly, or do you try and be as obviously consistent as possible?
Yeah, I think with the 19s and first team, there has to be a huge element of stuff that replicates the same, being that of, first team type stuff we do replicates a lot of the stuff we do in the 19s and vice versa. But in terms of the philosophy and the approach, yeah, I would say some aspects have to be a little bit different as well. Because when you're working at first team environment, you're working with ex-pros, players that have been in the game for a long, long time. They've been there, done it, wore the t-shirt. For them, it's more about making sure it's a fun, enjoyable environment to get the buy-in from them. So they'll put the work in, and you can develop them tactically slightly from an understanding perspective. But you have to get a buy-in from them, because for them, they've got a lot of personal stuff going on, no doubt, away from football. They've probably got kids, or they have got kids. They've got, a job. They've got a missus or a partner, whatever it might be. So you have to make it fun for when they arrive, just to get the buy-in and keep them coming back and keep them motivated to an extent. But with the younger players, being that in the 19s, they're already motivated because they're young. From a personal perspective, they haven't got as much going on as what the senior type players are. So although you want to make it fun, you can then delve deeper into the technical type stuff and continue to refine the technique, because they're willing to learn and they're willing to take on board that type of information. So your coaching interventions can be a little bit different with the under 19s, because they're willing to take on more information. With the senior players, they just want to get there, get it done, get it over the line, get the session, finished, to then prepare for the game on the weekend. So I think development under 19s is more about development. Senior players is more about maintenance when it comes to, to flipping the philosophy between the two.
You spoke before about being reflective. Is there a process that you take or use, whether it be formal or informal, where you reflect on your coaching practice, and also ask the players to do the same? Do you find that quite a formal or informal process?
Yeah. So from a staffing point of view, around reflection, we look to get together at least once every 6 weeks to just chew the fat, really. It's really informal, but just to talk about things that have been going well, areas for improvement, how we can be better in terms of the environment, anything we might need to shake up, anything we need to be aware of from a player's point of view outside of the game. So when it comes to the reflective piece, it's more around it being, one, really informal, but it's not just reflective on coaching. It's around the entire delivery of delivery and management of our training and games. And that's something we'll do as staff. From a personal point of view, when it comes to coaching, I look, the way it works very different for everyone else. Like, they've all got their own personal approach. But for me, I'll give you an example. Last night I delivered a finishing practice with the first team players, and it was unit type work. So I split off. I had 10 attackers, and the first team manager had all the defenders. And within my practice, I've devised it prior to the session, delivered it. But directly after the session, I've asked two senior players to give me their thoughts. So, one of them is the club captain, the other one's our top goal scorer. And I wanted to get their thoughts and initial reflections upon the session, so it was fresh. And then whilst I got my pad with me at the side of the pitch and taking the session, I'm just jotting down a couple of points. And then I'm also jotting down a couple of personal thoughts as to what went well, and maybe when I do it again, anything that could be a little bit better. So for me, my personal way is I like to do it pretty sharpish, directly after the session, and involve players in the process as well.
Is that because of the challenges of you're delivering a session as a coach, but you need to look at it from the player, in the sort of a player's perspective? The players will want something different from the session to what maybe you want out of it, but then you try to deliver for them at the same time. So getting that player's perspective is really important, isn't it? Because ultimately the session is for them, and whatever works best for them, I suppose, in whether it's development, enjoyment, whatever it might be in terms of the outcome.
Yeah, absolutely. It has to align. It can't just be about what I want to get out of the session, because if it's all about what I want to get out of the session, then none of us will get anything out of the session. Because if it's all about what I want to get out, and then the players, their needs and demands, and not so much demands, their needs are not met, then I'm not going to get the outcome I require. So there has to be a little bit of give. And that's why I like to involve them in the process, because, at the end of the day, they're the ones who have to take part in it. So it's important to get their thoughts and reflections and ideas moving forward as to how we can shape a better practice for them.
In terms of your own development, is there anything that you do on a regular basis in order to stay up to date with current trends, or is there a specific area of your practice that you feel like you need to develop at the moment, and so you're focusing specifically on that area?
Yeah, I like. I think in terms of developing myself and keeping up with current trends, I'm very active on Twitter, and I follow so many different football coaching type pages, and from an algorithm point of view, my Twitter feed is constantly flooded with them. So I'm always looking at new ideas, and again, it's the way I do it. It's personal to me, but everyone does it different. But if I see something and I like it, obviously I like it, and then I'll send it to myself via text message. So I'll just share the link into my texts, and I've got a log then of different types of practices that I can always reflect back upon and look at and pull off and use for the future. Like last night, for instance, that finishing type practice I'd done was one that I seen a while back, and I remember texting it to myself. And then I went back through my messages and then seen it, watched it, adapted it slightly based on the numbers that I had, and put a second pattern in that was a little bit different, which was more suited towards the players and their needs and the shape we work towards. And that's what works for me. Not to say it worked for, might not work for other people, but for me, that's the way in which I keep up with the current trends, by using that method, because it helps for me, and then I get the opportunity to deliver it then as well.
In terms of the maybe some of the challenges you face. So, for example, something that I struggled with for a little bit with my coaching was if there was a grenade thrown in just before the session. So whether it be players don't turn up and you've got different numbers, so that sort of adaptability, I suppose that comes within your planning a little bit. But is there something that really challenges you in your coaching that you are actively looking to develop at the moment, or you can remember in the past you had to develop that because it was really challenging you?
I think every single session has an aspect of challenge, and it should. If it becomes very easy for me to deliver, practices all the time and just deliver detail all the time, then I guess I'm not really developing as much, because I think it should always be challenging. I think for me, the area of focus that I really, really enjoy and really want to kick on and develop it now is individual unit type work. That's something I've been tasked with the first team manager now. So I've taken on the role now at the club as assistant manager this season with the first team as well. And every Thursday we split off, and I'll take the attackers, he'll take the defenders, and every week I'm trying my best to come up with something a little bit different to keep the players engaged, but to get the best out of them for both of us, outcomes that I want, but also meeting outcomes that, they want and what they need in order to be better. So I think a challenge for me at the moment is coming up with something different every week to accommodate the attackers. Has to have an element of finishing, has to have an element of some sort of patterns to finish or a cross to finish. But how can I tweak it slightly so it's a little bit different from last week? So I think, that's the challenge I face every week, and I love it because it keeps me on my toes and yeah, makes it a little bit more fun, I guess, from a learning perspective for me.
And you've spoken about the experience that you've had. What's been the in your time in football, I suppose, in terms of a coach, what's been the thing that's sort of changed the most, I suppose, in terms of you having to change or adapt to it? And since you started coaching to now, I know you spoke then around IDPs, and there's a massive thing on IDPs now at the moment, and that individual support. You spoke about that in your principles. What is the thing that stands out to you that's changed the most and is like massive now in the game or in terms of coaching?
I think interventions and having the ability to be very creative and different with your interventions across a session. So a lot of people will think of, coaching maybe as, right, let's stop the whole group, let's give a lot of detail, let's get them back going again. But the way in which you can coach, or I definitely have developed, I think, over the years, and what's changed is by having a wide variety of different interventions. So intervening in session on a one-to-one basis whilst the ball is still rolling, intervening at the end of a block break and being a little bit different, maybe using the tactics board, maybe using a micro pitch, whatever, maybe intervening to the whole group, maybe intervening with one focus team whilst your co-coach manages the other team. So I think having the ability to be able to intervene in a wide variety of different ways and be creative with them interventions, but also picking the right intervention for the correct moment and the right player is key. So, if I know, for instance, it's January, it's freezing, it's cold, it's raining. My interventions now on pitch have to be very different. They have to be a lot of individual type feedback while the ball is still rolling. They have to be a lot of detail from a distance because I can't be stopping and starting the practice due to the weather. But then it's July now, it's boiling, it's a hot day and sun's out, it's great. My interventions now might be more based around stopping the whole group because I might need to give them that individual type breaks. So I think, long story short on that is, for me, the one thing that I feel has changed is a coach's ability to be able to intervene in a wide variety of different ways and be successful with it.
In terms of the qualities, I suppose, I know you spoke about your principles, but in terms of the skill that a coach needs in order to be effective, what qualities, if you were creating a sort of blueprint for a coach, what would be maybe the 3 or 5 qualities that you think a coach should have in order to be successful? Yeah. And I suppose whether that is maybe just in the men's game or just in the youth football, or whether it's just collective. So maybe you can interpret that as you like, I suppose. But what qualities do you think a successful coach needs in today's football environment?
Yeah, I wrote down 6 earlier. So, look, there's still a lot more, no doubt. But I felt these 6 were the most important to me. I think number 1 is you have to be an effective communicator. And now these are not in order, being that one's the most important. It's just an order. I think one of them is you have to be an effective communicator. You have to be able to effectively communicate to individuals, to the group as a whole, to staff, to the board, to senior management, whatever it might be. You have to be able to be an effective communicator in order to, coach and develop players. I think another one, number 2, would be working as part of a team. You have to be a team player. You can't coach a squad of 16 to 20 players on your own and get the best out of them and also get the best out of you. So you have to be a team player. I think another one then would be the ability to be able to manage your emotions and others, because you're not just managing your emotions on the side to get the best out of the players and yourself. You also have to manage the emotions of the players in game when they make a mistake, or your staff when they make a mistake, or when players have got issues going on outside of the game or something frustrates them in a game. you have to be able to manage their emotions as well as your own, and that's a big challenge. Another one then would be the ability to operate under pressure, because there's huge aspects of pressure that come with coaching, and like we talked about earlier, being adaptable. If you plan for 16 and you get 17 turn up, you then have to be able to operate under pressure of being able to, I guess, adapt in the moment and also operate under pressure amongst the players, because, if you get it wrong, they're going to be able to see and read it. So I think operating under pressure is a big one. And that leads into the one we just discussed there, adaptability, being able to adapt to a wide variety of different players, circumstances, environments. So being able to be adaptable is key. And the last one for me then on that 6 was the ability to be able to build, maintain, and grow positive relationships. Because if you can't do that, I feel all the other ones will fall down anyway. So yeah, positive relationships are key to coaching.
Brilliant. And just sort of concluding now. So you've had lots of different experiences. Is there anything that you want to achieve, or any sort of different environments or roles that you want to work in the future that you haven't yet worked in? I know obviously you spoke about you did some management roles previously. I know you said you're an assistant manager at the moment. Is being a manager at a senior side, is that something you're interested in, or what would be the future role for you, do you think, that you'd like to dip your toes into?
Yeah. The answer is no. I wouldn't want to be the manager of a senior football team, like a men's senior football team. And the reason being is I feel, going back to what we discussed earlier, senior players, yes, some of them still want to develop and kick on and be a better player, which is amazing. But there's some of them also who might be doing it for different reasons. And I feel if I work or continue to work at under 19s or around that sector, I'm working with players that, you can get the best out of, and not just help shape them from a footballing sense, but also help shape them from a personal sense, moving forward into their later life. You can teach them not just the ability to be a better player, but also to be a better person. And you're going to get a little bit more of a buy-in from them as well. I don't want to, I love the role I got now, being that of managing the academy from 8s to 19s, 19s lead, first team assistant. I'm getting the best of all the worlds. But I feel I'm at my best and I can affect, as corny as it might sound, I'm able to affect change in a much more positive way based on my experiences today, working with players aged 8 up to under 19s, definitely, because they're still within the realm of player development and personal development. So for me, I feel that is an area I want to continue to focus on. And yeah, would I like to step out of, the role I'm in at the moment and, move into a professional club and take on, say, a 19s team, 18s team, could even branch into a 21s, because they're still around that area of personal development, and you can still help them moving forward. So yeah, of course I would, absolutely, in a professional setting. But I feel right now I'm quite content. I'm very fortunate to work in the role I work in and with the people I work with as well. So yeah, content where I'm at right now, and we'll see what the future brings in.
Thanks, Damian. I really appreciate your time today. The experience that you've had is quite unique. So the people that are listening will be able to maybe relate to some of it, but other bits they'll really be able to take some key information from it, and hopefully it'll help them in terms of help mold the teams that they're working with, the players that they're working with, and also their practice. So I really appreciate your time, and I wish you luck for the rest of the season and what's to come.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for thank you for the conversation.